YouTube, what's good? We're back. Marvin's Room. I wanted to make today's episode about my specific person journey and exactly what I did over the period of 5 years to help build my faith, to help manifest a specific person back into my life. Now, for those that don't know you, some of you guys do know me on my channel from Agnes Vivarelli's channel. And I touched base with Agnes last year in the fall of 2019 to share my specific person story. And that's where a lot of you guys know me from. But for those that don't know, I manifested a specific person back in my life back in 2018. And I shared my story. And I wanted to come on here and tell you guys kind of like what my routine was and what I did. So when in 2013, when the breakup initially happened, I was obviously, hurt, upset, all of the above, as most people would be. But I didn't know about law of attraction until I started learning around that time. And ironically enough, my SP gave me 2 books to read around that time that I had read after we had broken up. And both of those books were, one was The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and the other one was The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman. And I will post the link to both of those videos in the link in the description, below. And I definitely recommend you guys read both of those books. Because something that I realized, I kept trying to realize, like, okay, during the relationship, I kept feeling like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Like I'm not cheating, I'm not stealing, I'm not lying, I'm not doing any of the major stuff to, cause relationships to end. You know what I mean? So I couldn't really figure it out. And, I realized after the fact that, my SP was hurting, from whatever past pains, traumas, et cetera, et cetera. And I realized, she was just mirroring that back to me. She was taking that on me because I was who was in front of her. And so once I realized that, and I started to realize that when I read the book, The 4 Agreements, because in the 4 Agreements, 2 of the 4 agreements are crucial in anyone's healing journey, and that is never make assumptions and never take things personally. And as humans, I notice we do that pretty much every day. We make assumptions, we take things personal. You know what I mean? So when I read those 2 agreements, I was like, wow, those are two things I definitely did in my relationship. And I made assumptions about, what she might have been thinking or what other people might have been thinking, or, just telling myself lies in my head. I took the things personally, obviously, as most people would when you're going through something hurtful with or tough times in your relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So this book kind of cleared stuff up for me and told me, like, listen, don't take things personally. Anything that a person does is never because of you. It's always because of them, whatever hurt or trauma or demons, et cetera, they have going on inside of them. So that book was a huge eye-opener to me. And then The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman was another one where I was like, holy cow. Like, everybody has their own love language. You have to cater to that love language, whatever that may be, and that's something that I did a bad job at, that I'm man enough to admit and say, okay, I could have did that better. You know what I mean? And so these 2 books were the first 2 self-help books I ever read and the start of kind of my law of attraction journey. So from there in 2014, because the breakup happened in 2013, so from there I began studying Abraham Hicks. For those who don't know, Abraham Hicks is a woman who channels spirits, and the spirit's name is Abraham, and people come from all over the world to see her, talk to her, and she goes all over the world to talk to people and answer their questions about whatever questions they have about. And so I began to study Abraham Hicks and learn about, the real laws of attraction, because the movie The Secret, it scratched the surface, but it didn't get into detail. And then Abraham Hicks, she just has so much material where she talks about getting into, the vortex and filling up your vortex. Your vortex is filled with more money than you could ever imagine. It's filled with more love than you could ever imagine, all these sorts of things, and how to get into vortex and how to feel good. And I heavily got invested in Abraham Hicks. Then I found out about Neville Goddard and how he always talks about, living in the end, feeling is the secret, the art of prayer, all of those great books that Neville Goddard talks about. And then Joseph Murphy's another great author, another great law of attraction teacher. He had a book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind, The Cosmic Power Within, which is about the subconscious mind and how to impress it, and different stories. He gives different stories. And I'll probably put the links to all of those books in the description of this video. But these are the books that I first started out reading and learning about, law of attraction. And so from there, I basically understood, and I had to look in the mirror and say, wow, Marv, you created this, because everyone is you pushed out. I can't blame her. I can't blame anyone else. I have to blame me because of the negative thoughts I was thinking, whether it was low self-esteem, whether it was insecurities, whether it was any of that stuff. I had to realize I manifested it because she was me pushed out, and she was confirming to me whatever my beliefs were. And that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, because so many people feel like they didn't do anything wrong. They feel like they're on the right end of the stick. And I want you guys to understand and realize that no matter how much you may think you're on the right end of the stick, you are actually not on the right end of the stick. Because whatever beliefs you have going on inside of you, whatever negative beliefs, your partner is going to manifest those beliefs back to you. And so once I had that realization, I was like, holy crap, I have to heal. I have to fix, I have to forgive the past. So what I ended up doing was I read these books. All of these books. And I basically began to start to imagine doing the end scenes and stuff like that. However, I was missing a very critical piece, just like a lot of you guys are missing a very critical piece. And that piece was self-love, because so many people, they put icing on a rotten cake, meaning they do their end scenes, they're trying to skip parts, and they're missing out on the self-love. So what's gonna happen is if you miss out on self-love, you probably still can manifest your SP back, but what's gonna happen is you're gonna go through the same thing, and you're probably gonna lose your SP again, because you don't have real self-love. So when I figured out self-love is really what I was missing, that was the year my SP came back. And that's when I realized, holy crap, maybe if I'd done this sooner, it could have happened sooner, or all of these, bad things that happened, they probably wouldn't have happened. So prior to 2018, I was doing my end scenes. I was trying to feel good, trying to live in the end. I started 2017, 2018 when I started to kind of try to manifest, a text message and all that type of stuff. But like I said, nothing was happening. And when I started to do self-love, that's when I really seen drastic changes in how I feel. When I started to do self-love, that's when it became way easier to let go, because that's another huge problem people have, is letting go. And so what I started to do is, something that I did on my journey is, I basically realized, also too, I found out about Dr. Hugh Lin and the Ho'oponopono prayer, and how he healed the whole mental prison by doing Ho'oponopono. So basically what I did was, my routine was, I went back and I healed all of those moments in our relationship. I went back and I healed those moments with Ho'oponopono prayer. I went back and I actually one day I actually physically drove to different locations where she had used to live, whether it was in college or whether it was in Philadelphia. I actually drove and I actually went back and I healed and I blessed those places, and I said the Ho'oponopono, and I physically drove there and blessed them. And then in my mind at night, there were times and nights where I would do Neville's revision technique, and I would go back and I would revise arguments or anything that had happened that was negative. I would revise the scene to how I wished it had happened, because that's something else Neville talks about too. That's really big with manifestation and changing a situation, is the revision technique. And I used to do the revision technique to go back to change certain situations that happened to how I wished it would have happened. And I did Ho'oponopono during the revision technique and stuff like that. And I imagined hearing certain words. The whispering technique, you know what I mean? I tried that out. And something that I also realized that stuck with me is I stopped trying to get. Because a lot of people do these techniques, but they're doing it from a position of trying to get. And when I began to do these techniques, I also did it from a position of trying to get. But then I got to a point to where I started to do it genuinely to heal, and genuinely because I wanted forgiveness from all parties, from whatever happened, you know what I mean? So it became more genuine, and it stopped being about me and what I wanted. And so, again, once these types of things stuck, that's when I started to notice huge change. And like I said, I didn't really start to do these processes until like maybe 2017, 2018. And 2018 is the year that, it happened. So I feel like, again, if I had done these processes early on, I probably could have manifested her back a hell of a lot faster. You know what I mean? But so yeah, I did these, not every night. I wouldn't do these exercises every night because you don't want to turn this into a job. You don't want this to feel like, oh, I got to do my visualization tonight before I go to sleep, or I got to do this, because it's gonna get boring, it's gonna get redundant, and you're gonna lose faith way easier. You want it to be fun. You want to enjoy when you do these manifestations and these techniques. So I did these, on and off throughout the week, whenever I felt like, whenever I had energy. I would watch, subliminal videos, about manifestations, or, nice cars, nice houses, relationships, that sort of thing. I created multiple different end scenes. I'm not going to get into all the end scenes I created, but basically I started to assume the feeling, and like I said, the main thing for me was just contact, and manifesting text messages. And then, like I said, one night in October, I think it was, of 2018, it happened. The text message came through from my SP, literally how I imagined it. I was in my room and the text came through, and she literally kind of said, like, word for word exactly what I imagined her saying. And that's when I was just like, wow, this stuff is real. This stuff is extremely real. And I was just like, all of the work that I put in, it paid off. And I couldn't believe it. And I was just like, man, this is amazing. Like, this law of attraction stuff, this feeling it real, this living in the end is extremely real. But again, it was a process. Every day I had to read books. I tried to read Agnes. I tried to watch Agnes's Vivarelli's channel to help keep my spirits up, to see different people's success stories and know, like, okay, it's possible. And this is an important part, because I know you guys sometimes lose hope, but I don't want you guys to ever lose hope. And you have to do whatever you have to do to keep your spirits alive. And whether that's watching success videos or listening to great music, surrounding yourself with the right people, you have to do whatever you can to keep your spirits high, because that's what I did. I wasn't around any negative people. And something else I also did is I didn't tell people about what I was trying to do. I didn't tell people that I was trying to manifest, this or that. I didn't tell people I was trying to manifest the SP bag. I said nothing to no one, because again, you don't want to share that energy with people who have no idea what this stuff is, and they start telling you stuff like, oh, you're crazy, that's not going to work, just leave it alone, etc., etc. So I kept it to myself, which I think was another big reason that helped me be able to manifest it. But like I said, when I started doing self-love, I think that's what really did it. That was really the icing on the cake. And so I just wanted to hop on here real quick and kind of share, like, my journey over the past 7 years with law of attraction and how it's related to my SP, because I know SP is something that so many people are worried about, and I want you guys to know that it's definitely possible. I've done it. You just got to stay the course, find ways to stay motivated. There's multiple ways to stay motivated, multiple books you can read. But know this, it starts with you. You got to do the work on yourself. You got to fall in love with yourself. Stop trying to get from your SP. Stop trying to, try to use these techniques to get and kind of make it happen the way you want it to happen, because it's not going to happen. You basically, like I said, you're putting icing on a rotten cake. That's what you're doing, and you don't want to put icing on a rotten cake, because the cake is still rotten underneath. It looks good on the outside, but on the inside, it's not good. So doing the self-love is what makes the cake underneath really stick. It's what makes it not rotten. So I wanted to hop on here and share this, kind of give you guys a little backdrop of my story, my specific person story anyways, with law of attraction. And I also have an interview that I did with Agnes about it. I may post it on my page, one of these days, because I did about an hour interview with her, kind of explaining it in more detail, and some of the situations that occurred, and stuff like that. But like I said, guys, it starts with you. Never forget, it starts with you. If you want to manifest a person back, get rid of all the junk that you have going on inside. you know, the change, the energetic, quantum field, all of that stuff, the science behind it, it all starts with you. All right, guys? So I wanted to jump on here and share this with you. I hope this helped. Marvin's Room, we out.